Hi everyone. So today we're going to be talking about plant processes, and I thought a great place to start would be to review some of the vocabulary and concepts that we've learned in previous lessons. We've talked about these a few times, but they're so important for photosynthesis and plant processes that I thought we'd touch on them again. So remember, the two organelles that we were talking about were the chloroplast and the mitochondria. Okay, the chloroplast is only found in autotrophs. Animal cells do not have chloroplasts, but in plant and animal cells both have mitochondria. And this is where glucose is made through photosynthesis, and it is made into ATP, a sugar that can actually be used to help the cell. Remember, we've got photosynthesis here, which happens in the chloroplast, okay? And then cellular respiration, which is where that energy is converted into ATP, that happens in the mitochondria. So these are the things that we're going to be talking about today. When we're talking about photosynthesis, remember, we take that sunlight and we split a water molecule and we use the carbon dioxide, the water, and the energy from the sunlight to convert it into glucose. And glucose then needs to be sent to the mitochondria so that the mitochondria can change that glucose into ATP, which is a form of sugar or energy that the cell can actually use to perform its functions. A cell can only use the form of energy that is ATP. It cannot use anything else. So if you'll recall, photosynthesis can take carbon dioxide and water and energy from the sun and convert it into glucose. You'll remember from the previous video that we have to have multiple molecules of carbon dioxide of water if we want to get one molecule here of the sugar, okay, that a plant can use. Remember, we get our energy from the food that we eat, but plants have to make theirs using photosynthesis, and that's super important to remember when we talk about plant processes. Another thing that's super important to remember is turgor pressure. Remember a few lessons back when we were talking about organelles and you learned that plants have an organelle, or plants and animals have an organelle called vacuoles. And you learn that plants have bigger vacuoles than animal cells. This is because the vacuole is like the water storage system of a cell. Okay, so unlike animals, plants don't have excretory systems to eliminate waste. Instead, plants are going to hold on to this water in a large compartment in their cell called that vacuole. Okay, when the vacuole is full of water, it will stretch out and it will apply pressure to the cell wall. This pressure is called turgor pressure. When a plant has a high turgor pressure, they're able to stand upright, and we call this turgid. So now when a plant process does not have the fuller vacuole, this pressure is not applied and the plant will just kind of slump over. We call this flaccid or low pressure. Now you might be thinking, what happens when the plant has too much water? Could the vacuole explode? And the answer is, it could. Plants have to have a way to get rid of the extra water in their cells. So when plants are absorbing water through their roots, there's not a shutoff system. There's no valve that they can use to stop their roots from taking in more water. Think about it, like when we're thirsty, we drink, and when we're not thirsty anymore, we just stop drinking. Plants cannot do this. Their roots are constantly absorbing more water. There's no valve to shut that off. Plants, because they continually bring up water, they have to have a way to get rid of the extra water. This is what transpiration takes care of. Plants have in their cells, or in their bodies, what they have is called a stomata. These are tiny holes on the underside of their leaves, okay? They have guard cells on the side that can open and close. These are stomata, tiny holes that have guard cells that allow them to open and close, okay? When it's summertime, the plant isn't getting a lot of water and it's all droopy. The stomata are going to be closed. They do not want any extra water to make its way out of the plant. They're closing, and so they can hold on to as much water as possible. They need all the water they can get. Okay, but say during March and April, when there's a ton of extra water around because it's the rainy season, they don't want to bust. So those guard cells on the stomata are going to be open so they can release the extra water and let it out. They don't want those plant cells to burst, okay? So when they release that water, they're going to release it in gas form. Okay, you know how H2O, which is water, can be a liquid or a gas? Here it's released in gas form. Now, when it starts to accumulate on the leaf, and we can see that here, the water molecules will be in liquid form. Remember, this process is called transpiration. So let's do a quick recap, okay? We've got turgor pressure. Turgor pressure is when there's so much water in the vacuole that the vacuole can be pushed against the cell wall and allow the plant to stand upright. And then here we've got transpiration. Okay, transpiration is when we let extra water out of the cell through the stomata by those little guard cells, and that will help the vacuole to keep from busting. Okay. So that's what you guys need to know all about plant processes, and I hope you have a great day.